Get to our meeting. Thanks to the technology of Zoom, we get to see him in real time every week. This topic title is The Origin Story. And what about it? What is the true meaning of rock bottom? And what's the point? Here's a journey to rock bottom and back. Let's welcome our club president, Benron Menoah.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, what comes to mind when you hear the term rock bottom? You see, I believe Hollywood gets it wrong. I struggled with depression for over 3 decades, constantly hearing voices, no matter how much I tried, no matter the therapy, the pills, or the drugs. I wish someone would just stab me. I wish I would discover I have cancer. I wish I'll get in a horrific car accident and end up in a coma at least for a few good years. Anything to escape the reality that I felt was truly a nightmare in disguise. The worst part were 5 words lingering in the back of my mind, which I never dared to admit to having or say out loud. But why? Why was I constantly fighting depression? In the movies, there's always an alcoholic, abusive father, a drug addict for a mother. There's violence, there's crime, there's hate, there's everything that's wrong. But honestly, I experienced the exact opposite of that. Growing up, I had a beautiful home, a loving family, a wonderful childhood, but by all accounts, everything was wonderful. How dare I have depression? Who am I to have such a privilege? And that guilt and shame tore me apart to shreds. All while 5 words kept lingering in the back of my mind. When I look back, I realize I never truly learned to love myself. I never, you know what? In fact, not even did I not love myself, I resented myself. I resented myself for being fat, for being short, for being foreign, for being socially awkward. I was teaching myself to resent myself. That's why I never truly learned to trust myself or to believe in myself. Not really. I think the results spoke for themselves. I listened to everyone else but myself. And those 5 words kept brewing and brewing. And by teaching myself to resent myself, that I'm not worthy, that I am not enough, I became angry and miserable and resentful and hateful. And I would lash out. And I would lash out, especially to the people closest to me, until I lashed out too much. And on a car ride home, I lashed out to my wife to the point of verbal abuse, while my daughters were in the back seat. I screamed and yelled and couldn't even realize how terrified they were. Now, I promised myself one thing. In fact, I gave myself a vow growing up, ever since I was a little boy. My family would always be first priority. They'd be loved, cherished, and always feel safe no matter what. But when I got home, my wife came to me and said, I'm going to sleep at my parents. And I need to think and decide to give you another chance because I'm afraid for myself and for our daughters. That's when I realized I had failed my family. I had failed myself. I had failed quite literally in life. The biggest vow I gave to myself, I had broken. And finally, those 5 words were spoken out loud. I wish I was dead. And so I stepped out to the balcony And only barely 2 words came to mind. Fuck it. Might as well end it. They deserve better. And I sure as heck don't deserve them. And as I leaned out and stared at the bottom, another voice came in. Let's say goodbye to the girls one last time. Figured, what the heck? Let's do it. And as I sat saying goodbye to my daughters, Healy, my eldest, put her head on my lap and hugged me in a sort of way as if something was up. That's when I realized what true rock bottom is. It has nothing to do with the situation. It has everything to do with your mindset. When you finally give up hope, when you don't see a point in tomorrow, when you lose absolute faith, that's true rock bottom. And at that instant, I broke. And I realized there is no world, there is no reality, there is no version in the entire multiverse where these girls grow up without their daddy. It does not exist. So I'm glad I broke, because through the cracks shined a light. And ever since then, I have devoted myself to love, to compassion, to being an example, to helping, to serving, and to putting out as much love as I possibly can. I understand why I'm here, and I'm grateful for breaking in such a way. If there's anything that you can take with you, know this. It's not just hope that helps us. It's faith. Keep the hope and keep the faith. There's always a plan. There's always a higher serving, and we can always do more and better. Everything turns out okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. Keep the hope and keep the faith.